Welcome to Write Books That Sell Now, the podcast helping you write, publish, and market your book faster, better, and smarter. Here are your hosts, working hard and having fun doing it, Candace L. Davis, Anita Henderson, and Carol Dunlop.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Write Books That Sell Now podcast. As you very well know, we are the phenomenal podcast that gives you real insight into the real world of being a successful self-published author. We are your trio, the Write Books That Sell Now team. I'm Anita Henderson here with my partners in success, Candace L. Davis and Carol Dunlop. Hey, ladies.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? All kinds of stuff going on. We have got a great topic to chat with you about today, all of you viewers and listeners. First of all, we want to say thank you so much for continuing to participate and to log in and watch and listen to the podcast. We've been going for a while now, quite over a year, and we're excited about the success and the traction, that our Write Books That Sell Now podcast has gained. On this episode, we're going to be talking about competition, or really the myth of competition. We've all heard the term. Sometimes we're afraid of it, either as an author or as an entrepreneur. We kind of shy away from or get a little panicked when it comes to the thought of competition. Who are these other companies or books that are competing against ours? What do we do about it? How do we identify it? And how do we squash the competition, right? That's what we're always thinking. Well, the three of us are going to tackle that topic, and we're really calling it the myth of competition. So we think you're going to enjoy it. Be sure to take some notes and chime in the comments area. But before we get deep into that conversation, Carol, honey, what is on your mind today?
Well, that's always a dangerous thing to ask me what's on my mind. But what is on my mind is 45. Do y'all know what 45 is?
I know what I'm thinking of when it comes to 45.
Yes, our president.
Number 45, yes.
Yeah, number 45. They don't even call him by his name. He's just 45.
I think Candace is rolling her eyes. She's like, Carol's about to talk politics again.
No, it's not really politics.
I see her zipping her lips already. No comment. Go ahead, Carol.
I don't know if it's politics. It's just the atmosphere that he is inciting, that 45 is inciting, that we have going on in this nation and around the world right now. But I'm hoping that we can use this actually as a good thing, because I've never seen so many people wanting to protest for their right to protest for their right to have their word, have their voices heard, and just really being active and standing up and trying to make themselves known for the things that they want to do right. I mean, when I look on Facebook, I think every other post is about, have you contacted your congressman today? Do you know who your congressman is? These are the numbers that you need to connect with. And I've never, ever seen that much activity go on around a political figure.
So you got some political folks, friends on Facebook then?
Right. Yeah, I do have some political friends, but I do have some people who are dipping their toes into the activism waters. They're trying to see, how can I get my voice heard? How can I protect my rights? And how can I get what I want out of this administration? So I'm here to tell you that 45 is not concerned with you. He doesn't care about you. All he cares about is 45 and his minions and all the stuff that's going on with him. So I want everyone to know right now that Carol Dunlop said this, that you have to take care of yourself. I mean, I've been in business for myself and an entrepreneur since 1997. It wasn't even the 2000s, y'all. 1997. I've seen a lot of presidents come, a lot of presidents go. Well, a couple. I'm not that old, but but you have to make a decision to take care of yourself. And what does that mean for you? That means that you have to figure out a way to make your own money, secure your money, secure your future, and figure out, as Candace says, what's going on in your sixth 6 in front, 6 on the sides, and 6 behind, and your family. So one thing that 45 is doing is he's stirring up that I got to take care of myself. I got to take care of my family. And I'm grateful for that. Yes, there's a lot of other stuff going on with him. I'm not even touching none of that stuff. I'm just talking about how it is affecting us individually and our businesses right now, because we need to get on it. If you do not have a way of making extra income, another income, passive income, then this episode is definitely for you, because there is no competition, and we're going to tell you why. And that's all I got to say about that.
Well, I do have a couple of comments in regards. No comments, darling.
Okay.
And I don't disagree with you. What I would like to insert is that this is a great opportunity. The historian me the historian in me says this is a great opportunity for us to learn from history. This is certainly not the first time we've seen great displays of political activism from society, from different groups and clusters in society. And I think it would behoove those people who feel, especially charged and moved to protest and gather and voice their opinions in various ways, to really look at history and the different movements of the past, what incited them, what got them started, the successful movements that have occurred and actually did lead to change. How did that happen? And understand that most everything that we probably have seen on television about those past movements isn't all the whole backstory. We need to look into the behind the scenes stuff that happened, and the planning and structure and messaging that happened. It didn't all, even though, we might have just heard about, for example, the Montgomery bus boycott. There was a lot of planning and messaging that went into that. And so for many people, they know, Rosa Parks just refused to give up her seat for someone. But there was a lot of backstory that went into that. And I'm hoping that these protesters and people who are voicing their opinion, hopefully in a positive and productive way, in the direction of change, are understanding that it's more than just getting out there and marching with a funny hat on your head, or smashing windows, or posting very strong verbal opinions on social media. There's more to it than that, and it could backfire. It could be counterproductive, but I think when done well and with an understanding of what you want the outcome to be, it can be effective. But I agree with you, Carol, that, you need to really, all of us, concern ourselves with our own sphere, our own circle, and do what we can individually to make sure that the people, that ourselves and the people who are important to us are protected and cared for, and that we move forward in our own way, no matter how small, to ensure our own sustainability as a household, as a business, and as an author. So that's my .02.
I agree with you, ladies. I spend less time on social media because I don't need the constant expressions of opinions. I have an opinion. So getting information is great, but the constant expressing of opinion doesn't work for me. I belong to some political social media groups. I go there for political talk, and in my regular news feed, I don't need so much of it. But adding on to what you said, I think one thing we also need to remember is that this is a time, for the first time ever, the victors no longer control history. Typically, history is written by the victors, right? Right now, we have self-publishing, which allows all of us to tell our stories. It allows all of us to write history. So just as it's really important that we take control of our personal finances and our personal income right now, I totally agree with you, Carol. I've been on that soapbox since the election. I think it's just as important that we tell our stories right now, whether we're telling them in a memoir, whether we're telling them like many of Anita's clients in genealogical histories that they're recording, whether we're telling them in collaborative books or in blog posts, that we tell our stories so that history isn't only written by the victors anymore. We have the ability to do that, and we have the power to do that. And I think we have the responsibility to do that.
I love that. My husband, who is a genealogist, always refers to this quote, even in all of his presentations. I think it's somewhere on his book cover, but it's an African proverb that says, until the lion has his or her own storyteller, the hunter will always have the best part of the story. And it really behooves us to definitely tell our own stories. And then I'll go back to one of my tried and true, favorite quotes from PR, my PR days back in the day. We used to always say, tell it first, tell it all, and tell it yourself. So that someone else who beats you to the punch, their version of the story, to whoever tells it first, oftentimes, they get all the publicity, they get all the, debate and so forth and all the attention.
Right.
But you tell your story first, you tell it your way, and then you tell it all in quotation marks, because you don't always tell the deep, dark dirt, but you tell all of what you want to tell it first and tell it yourself.
Amen, sister.
Love it.
All right. So really, that does kind of talk about, we're going to make that fit into our discussion of the myth of competition. Thanks for bringing up that topic, Carol. But it is quite timely in this day and age. But Candace,
yes, ma'am.
I want you to kick us off with this discussion of competition and why are we saying it's a myth?
So you guys know about me that I get really frustrated when I hear or see or read people saying that women can't work together, women are catty, women are this, women are that. And even when they niche down and say Black women are always coming for each other. Okay, my life is not a reality TV show. So that's not how my life actually works. I live in the real world. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I get frustrated when people talk about that level of competition, but there's also a sense of business competition, whether you're selling a book, whether you're selling a product, whether you're selling a service. There's a sense among some people that you have to beat the next guy, that the only way to win is to beat the next guy, right? So you come out and you're at a social mixer or networking event and you've just written your book on marketing, and you walk up to this woman and you introduce yourself and you meet her and she goes, "Hey, I just wrote a book on marketing." So how are you supposed to react to that? Do you get a pit in your stomach that starts to kind of twirl in there and you think, "I don't like this heifer"? Or do you think, "Oh, well, interesting. So did I. I wonder how we could help each other sell more books." So I tend to lean towards the latter. I tend to lean towards how can we work together to move forward. And maybe because I come from a writing workshop background where we all helped each other make our books better and write our books and reach our goals. So maybe it's that background that kind of fed this sort of collaborative, helpful mentality into me. But I don't lean towards wanting to scratch her eyes out. I lean towards
that's how we met, right, Candace?
Oh my God, y'all!
I'm so glad they scratch my eyes out.
I know.
Well, at a networking event.
Well, Anita, you were the speaker. You were the speaker at the event.
You still could have scratched my eyes out. I'm so glad you did.
Like a gazelle looking over their meat.
We met at a networking event. Anita and another friend of ours, well, she became a friend now, we're speaking about self-publishing. And afterwards, I was like, "Oh, that's so awesome, because I work in publishing, whatever. Let me stay and talk to them." And I did. And Anita, we introduced ourselves to each other and exchanged cards. And both of us had stuff on our cards, but we both also had author coach on the card. I was like, "Oh, she about to choke me. She about to rip my throat right."
Oh my God. I wish I had been there.
So not the case. It was so not the case. 3 days later, we were all at a wine party together. A few months later, we were all meeting for lunch. And then a few months later, we were working together on various projects and have been ever since. There was not a sense of, well, this city ain't big enough for both of us, girl. Right. We can't have two author coaches in the same city.
Well, you know what I think was the clincher with that whole thing, and you just said it. It was the wine. It was the wine party.
Well, you know what, Candace? I want you to know that exact same scenario happened to me recently, and Anita. It was at it wasn't at the Percolator, but it was before that when I first met Stacy. And she walked up to me and she's like, "Oh, Carol, I've been wanting to meet you because you're the head of marketing." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And she says, "I'm Stacy and I just wrote a book about marketing." I was like, "I did too." And she immediately said, "Oh, I just know they can't be the same." I said, "Of course not, because you wrote yours and I wrote mine. What's yours about?" She told me, and I told her what mine is about. And she's like, "Oh, we definitely need to collaborate." And we've been like friends ever since, So Nobody can be authentic.
At that event you're talking about, Carol and I were
Mm-hmm.
recently at a networking event, and I did meet a lady there who mentioned that she helps people write their books. She didn't call
Oh,
herself
yes.
a book coach.
Yes.
She actually connected with me via email. She said, I just really, what you said when you introduced yourself resonated with me. And she was very open. She said, I'd love to talk
Mm-hmm.
to you about, and she had a particular topic she wanted to talk about. Let's get together for coffee. So we're going to do that in the next week or so. And she happens to be an African-American woman. So
what?
You guys didn't start fighting.
Another one? Yeah, I didn't like curse her out on email or anything like that. But I think you're absolutely right, Candace. There is this crazy myth when it comes to working together with people who do something similar as to what you do. And yes, there's a myth among women or about women, and certainly taking it even further down or further more niche, that women of African descent, African-American women, women of color, specifically cannot or do not work well together. We are proof positive for 2.5 years now. That is a big fat nasty lie. We work together very well. We share ideas and concepts, and have taken each of us the best of what we know and what we bring to the table to make Write Books That Sell Now be as awesome and amazing as it is. So when it comes to competition, Candace, what are some of the main things that people are concerned with when they're thinking about other books? Let's talk about books, for example. As Carol mentioned, I've got a marketing book, and so do I have a marketing book. How, what
100,000 of them out there.
Right. So what's a different approach to look at it when you find another book, and there will be others, or meet another author who's written a book similar to yours?
I think it starts even before people publish their books. A lot of people are super hush, sign an NDA. I can't tell you what my book is about because they're so afraid someone's going to steal their content or steal their idea. And let me just break it to you. Ideas cannot be copyrighted. Ideas cannot be trademarked. Ideas cannot be patented. So, and I'll go even further and hurt your feelings a little more. If you've had the idea, I promise you someone else has too. So worrying about it at that stage, now I'm not saying go out and give away your proprietary information to other people when you're in the process of writing a book about it, but just understand that the larger ideas that you are putting in paper, you may have your own spin on it, but other people have had the same idea. What's going to draw readers to you is going to be the spin that you put on it and what you bring of yourself to the book. Now, when Anita, I don't know, I think I told this story before, but we were at an event where you were speaking again. And after the event, I stayed behind to leave with you, and some people had stayed to ask you questions. So I was talking to them, and I was talking to one young lady, and she said, I really want to write a book, blah, 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 blah. And the topic she mentioned was a topic that I had started writing a book on. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then she named her title, and it was the exact same title.
I didn't know that part.
I was like, let's see who's going to get to Amazon first. That's the race to Amazon. But I didn't get upset. Number one, there are an infinite number of words available to me should I need to change the title. If she publishes her book first and that title is a huge hit, I can name my book something else. It'll still be fine. It'll be okay. I think what people miss is that readers, when they buy a book on a subject, they're typically going to buy multiple books on that subject. So when I was trying to learn how to homeschool my kids, I probably had 20 books on homeschooling. Right. I didn't just buy one book and give that author my money and say to heck with the rest of the authors.
Right. This has to be everything on the topic in this one book. So
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, people, you don't have to feel like, oh, well, she wrote a marketing book and I wrote a marketing book. Well, first of all, marketing is a huge subject. It's a huge subject.
Right. What angle are you going to approach it from?
What angle are you going to approach it from? What material are you going to cover? What audience are you trying to reach? What purpose are you trying to serve? There's so many things that are going to distinguish your book from that other book that freak out moment is totally unnecessary.
And hopefully it's brief. Even if you do have it, just let it be brief. Get over it and move on. Because what I tell aspiring authors is that if there is no other book like the book you want to write, you might reconsider your approach, meaning that things are on the market. Any item is on the market because there's a demand for it. And if there's no demand for the book you're writing, you could either be super innovative, which is highly unlikely in this day and age, or there's somebody who wants to read about that. And either of those is a possibility, but you really need to look further into it. If you can't find any books on a general topic focused to the audience you say you want to write to, nothing's out there.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah,
it is pretty rare.
Which means that there's a 99.99% chance that there's at least one other book out there, just like the book you want to write. And as Candace said, how are you going to approach it? You are coming to this with your secret sauce, as Carol always says, your secret sauce, your special approach. And again, if you practice what we talk about in our Write Books That Sell Now online course, you will narrow down and really focus on a target audience so wonderfully that you are focused on this very specific ideal reader for your book, your unique, perfect reader for your book. So even if your topic is similar elsewhere, you may add a different flavor and a different spin just for the audience you want to reach.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to say that you have to look at it like the news reporters do, like the news agencies do, rather, because take the election, for instance. Who wasn't reporting on the election? I mean, every outlet, every newspaper, every online source, everybody was reporting about the election, but none of them actually had the same exact way of reporting it or talking about it or bringing it to the forefront. So you have to look at that same way, do the same thing with your book. You have to figure out, like Candace says, what does your unique, perfect reader want to know about, and what do they want to know about from you, and what can you tell them? Because even when I talk with Stacy, her marketing, once we got over that, oh, you're doing a marketing book too, oh, that's awesome. She told me that her book is something about organizations finding out their true purpose in marketing, which is totally different from what I'm writing about. I'm writing about how to market your book using these 10 strategies. So even though both our books have the word marketing in there somewhere and talk about marketing, they're totally, totally different. And even if we were writing about the same subject matter, how I approach it being Carol J. Dunlop and how she approaches it being Stacey Roof would totally be different anyway. So where's the competition in that?
There's
all by yourself.
Zero.
There's no competition. Between my husband and me, we must have 50 books on writing in our house. 50 books on writing. He's a screenwriter. I write books. We must have at least 50 books on writing. We've learned something different. There's a reason why we keep buying new books. We want someone else's perspective. We want to know how someone else created the beautiful movie that they created, or the beautiful novel that they wrote, or the wonderful memoir that they wrote. So if I read Stephen King's On Writing, don't you love that one, Anita?
You just melted my heart right there.
If I read Stephen King's On Writing, that doesn't mean that I can't learn something from Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, right?
I'm totally melted right now.
They're two great books. They're not competitors to each other. In fact, I think they're friends, but they are not competitors to each other, even though they've both written classic books on the art and craft of writing. Mm-hmm. A customer like me wants all of them.
Right. It can only make you better.
It can only make me better.
Right. When it comes
and
to
I don't have those.
go ahead, Carol.
I don't have those books. I don't have those books on writing. I don't even how y'all go off on the writing books. I just be like, oh yeah, okay, that's good.
She's like, whatever, moving on.
Right.
And that's fine. That's fine. It's not that you have to read those books in order to write a great book.
But
we eat up stuff like that. That's kind of geeky stuff for us.
Yes, it is.
But I was going to shift over then to talk about competition as it relates to your business. But before we get into that, we're going to take a quick break to acknowledge our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Write Your Life, helping professionals and entrepreneurs Be an author, be an expert, be amazing. Write Your Life offers expert author coaching and book production services to help you produce a phenomenal self-published book you can use to leverage your business and your brand. Visit them at www.writeyourlife.net.
All right, we are back with Write Books That Sell Now, the podcast that gives you real insight into the real world of becoming a successful self-published author who is not afraid of competition. Our topic today is the myth of competition. We've been talking about competition as it relates to books, book topics, book titles, book themes. But we want to move a little bit into the direction of talking about competition as it relates to your business. So if you're an entrepreneur, even maybe your career, we may touch on that a little bit also. But if you are an entrepreneur, certainly competition is maybe a concern for you. And my thought is that for people who say there's no competition for them in their business, I suggest you kind of think of it in terms of the perspective of your ideal client. Rather than say there's no competition out there, nobody else does what I do, and la la. Think about it from the perspective of your ideal client. Who are they thinking your competition is, right? Mm-hmm. So it's their thought about competition that you really should consider. And so who do they think your competition is? When you kind of can get a short list of who those other companies are, maybe other coaches or other consultants or speakers or whatever, then you can maybe think about some ways that you can differentiate yourself from those. What say you, Candace?
Totally agree with you. Yes, there is. I mean, we say there is no competition. I think we all know we mean that loosely, because of course there are other people who do what you do. There are other businesses that offer the services and products that you do. So I submitted a bid for a job yesterday. I happen to know because the potential client told me that 2 other people submitted a bid for that job. They're considering 3 bids. So is that competition? You tell me. Sounds like it is. So, but for me, what it boils down to is this the right client for me? So if they're not the right client for me to work with, I don't want to work with them anyway. So is this the right client for me? First of all, it's not just the client choosing me. We have to choose each other.
Right.
Second of all, especially in a service-based, particularly in a service-based business. Second of all, how do I distinguish myself? So for me in particular, I try to distinguish myself by going above and beyond on certain things. So above and beyond in the way I communicate with the client, giving them very clear idea of what the process of working together would look like, and then giving them samples of my work so they can see this is what my work is like. They either like it or they don't. They're attracted to it or they're not. The price works for them or it doesn't, and all of that. But my focus is not on what the other 2 people who were submitting bids were doing. I have no idea what's in their bid. Right, I have no idea how good they are at their work. I can't worry about that. I can only take care of what I have control over. And I have control over the quality I provide. I have control over putting myself and my business and my services in front of the right people. Those are the things that I can control. The pricing, I control that. I have control of those things. I don't worry about what the next ghostwriter or editor or author coach is doing. How could I know? What am I going to do? Get on her Facebook page and sabotage her? Although I have seen people actually go and do that.
Clearly they don't have enough real work to do.
It's not even sabotage. Yeah. They just don't have any ideas. And so they go and they're trying to emulate someone's social media presence. So they just basically copy it, which I think is hilarious because everyone can see that you're copying it. It's not going to work. But, I have to take care of what I can do. As an author, I can write the best book I can write. And, as a business person, I present the best possible service and product in front of my ideal client. And then the chips are going to have to fall where they may from that. I can't worry about what the next girl is doing.
So that sounds like mindset. That sounds a lot like having the right mindset. Carol, what do you think?
It's definitely about having the right mindset. I have to agree that there is no competition and there is competition because physically there is competition. Somebody else is doing what you're doing. But your mindset thing is about that you're going to be the best at what you're going to be the best you that you can be, and you're going to do the best job that you can do. And you also want to, like Candace says, work with the right people. Just because you are you're in the same space with someone else. It doesn't mean that I want to work with a client or I want to work with B client when I've heard that they treat their people awful, but they pay great money. And I've been in that situation before. I've been warned that, hey, this person will pay you good money, but she's to work for, and, very demanding and blah, blah, blah. And against my better judgment, one time I did that. So I would never, ever do that again. And I know what my boundaries are. So it's all about knowing your boundaries. In your mind, you have to know that you can do whatever it is. And I find that some people they really worry the most about competition. They lack confidence in what they can provide anyway. And if they had more confidence, they would be further ahead than they are. So yeah, it is about mindset, definitely.
Right. I think the landscape, just any landscape, whatever industry you're in, whatever service you provide, I think healthy competition makes us better.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's someone else out there who is doing what we're doing. So it makes us better from a couple of different ways. One, what we had talked about initially, which is the opportunity to collaborate with other people who are smart, just like we are, who are clear about what they do and who they do it for. We can only learn from each other. But competition also helps you step up your game. When you know you're submitting a bid against some other people, you are top of the mark, right? You're like, I got to get all my stuff straight. I mean, not that you should do that anyway, but it really makes you double check and triple check and really make sure that your proposal is tight, that it looks good, no typos, all of that stuff. And again, I say you're going to do that anyway, but it really, really just makes you sharper. It makes you certainly more clear about who you want to work with, as Candace mentioned, because when you're clear, and we had a podcast about this several weeks ago about clarity, getting clear on who you are, what you offer, and who you serve. When you're clear, you don't feel the need to settle for working with clients who are not uniquely for you. You tend to, and sometimes it's a little battle, but you tend to be able to more easily resist what Carol just talked about, kind of go ahead and work with that person just because either the money is there or I have an opening or whatever. If you know it's not a good fit for you, regardless of whether they can pay you, regardless of, a lot of other things, if you know it's not a good fit, and a lot of it is personality, then you are more comfortable saying no. So that clarity comes into play a lot, but competition really, the little bit that's there, I guess, or depending on how you look at it and approach it, it really does make us better.
It does. But I think you also have to come to it with an abundance mindset, right? Because I'm sitting here thinking, well, there may be only 10 people out here who need my services. So I've got to fight and scratch and get those 10 to work with me. They've got to choose me. I'm coming from a place of desperation. I'm going to see everyone as competition, even people who even come near to doing what I do. I'm going to see them all as competition. And there are very few fields where there aren't enough clients to go around if you do your job well. If your product is a high quality product, if your service is a high quality service, and if you are, Carol, marketing it well, there are enough customers to go around. Think about the fact that in any situation, whether you're talking about students in school, everybody can't be an A student, right? Well, everybody in your field is not doing an A+ job. So just by doing an A+ job right off the bat, you separate yourself from the crowd. Right. Just by putting yourself in front of the right people, because a lot of people who do an A+ job, and I have been guilty of this myself in the past, is you do an A+ job, but you're not telling anybody about it. Nobody knows that you do an A+ job. You are the best. You're the best kept secret in your industry. Right. So when you have a mentality that there are more than enough people out here to buy my products and services, and you combine that with creating high quality products, giving high quality service, and thank you, Carol, putting your products and services in front of the right people, you don't have any competition at that point because there's more than enough to go around. So if customer A goes over there and customer B goes over there, C, D, and E are still there for you. Exactly. Go ahead and scoop them up.
I love that. This reminds me of of something I just happened to be watching last night online. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Dr. Wayne Dyer, fabulous philosopher, spiritual leader, and everything. And I can't even think of the name of the session that he was teaching. It was a PBS special that he was guest hosting on. And he was talking, of course, he oftentimes talks about the ego and your spiritual self. He was talking about the fact that several years ago, he was listed, some newspaper or some publication came out with this list of the top 100 most spiritually influential people in the world. And he made the list. Wow, he made the list. Everybody in the audience was clapping. And he said, and to just make it even more amazing to him, he was number 3. Wow. He was the 3rd most spiritually influential person in the world.
Wow.
So his spiritual self said to him, that doesn't matter. What does that matter? It doesn't really matter. I'm not here for recognition. I am, here simply just to share the gift that's been placed within me. His ego, however, said, number 3. Hold on.
Why am I not number 1? Yeah.
Talk about competition. Then, of course, he said the Dalai Lama was one of the top 2, and I forgot who the other person was. I can't think of who it was.
Maybe Gandhi or something.
Somebody. So he was kind of like, these were living people. So he was talking about, he was like, his ego was like, how do I get to number 1, and how do I take 1 and 2 down? You know? So that's what a lot of people is their approach to competition. But he talked about, since we were talking about mindset, really your approach to this competitive thing. He talked about his spiritual self, really said, kind of what an honor it is to be included, to be in the top 3. But then what does it really matter anyway? I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I've learned from top, number 1 and 2, in addition to some of the other ones, number 59 and number 99. But somebody else just decided to put me at number 3. That's their opinion. And so overlaying that experience with this idea of competition, again, really kind of it's mindset, is how you approach it. If we're thinking about how does your ideal client view you compared to your competitors, that's really their opinion. You have to make sure to define yourself, your business, your book in the way you want it to be defined. And that really speaks, Carol, to the marketing aspect.
It does. Oh, I'm glad you said that, Anita, because I was on, I just recently was, I guess, inducted into the membership with Tyler. Well, what's it? James Tyler, I think it is. The married people. You know who I'm talking about, Candace. I can't.
Oh, Black and Married with Kids.
Yeah. He has a big group, and I had no idea about it. So one of my friends said, "Oh, Carol, you're doing such good stuff out there. I want you to become a member of this group because this will really help you." I'm like, okay. I didn't realize who it was, and then I got in there. I was like, oh, that's who it is. I didn't know he had a group. And guess who I saw in there? There was Jay Stone was in there. April Franks was in there. And all these.
So you're referring to Lamar Tyler.
Lamar Tyler, yes. Sorry. I knew it was a Tyler somewhere in there, in that name. So excuse me, Lamar, for messing up your name. But what I was looking at was all these 3 big names: Lamar Tyler, April Hunt Frank, and Jay Stone. Really big, huge marketing coaches, life coaches and stuff are in each other's groups, and they actually submit content. They answer questions. So, and all of these are big people. All of these, like multi 7-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure coaches, and they're all working with each other and helping each other's audience to be better. Yes, do they do different things? Of course they do. But are they talking about marketing in some kind of way or getting your business out there, branding? Yes, they are. But they're all working together. I thought it was really awesomely beautiful that all of them were helping each other, because Lamar was actually, I saw this on April's group the other day, and I think you guys can use it. And then Jay comes in. I saw this on the Lamar's group, and I wanted to do this. So, like you said, we have no competition. It's all about the marketing. It's all about how you put yourself out there. Because even though those 3 big names, and those are just 3 of them that were in that group, I knew who each of them was, and I knew what their branding was about, and I knew what their audience was about. And I'm part of all 3 of them's audience, so I knew how different they all were. So I thought that was really cool to be in there.
I want to shout out to Lamar, one of my clients. He's been an awesome client, Lamar Tyler of blackandmarriedwithkids.com, which is a great website. But Carol, you bring up a great point. these people, yes, they do have different niches, but they could easily see each other as competitors, but they have instead found a way to collaborate and lift each other's to success a lot more quickly. And Anita, I know one of the things you wanted to address is authors collaborating together. You've worked with a lot of different authors on collaborative books. How does that come about? What's the benefit in doing that?
Oh gosh, how does it come about? It's a process. You knew I was going to say that. Everything is process.
Oh, yeah.
Typically with a collaborative book, there is a facilitator or a coordinator. And for the collaborative books, I've worked on most of them. I've been a coordinator, but I have jumped in on a few where I was a contributor. And it really takes for each of the contributing authors, the co-authors, really to come to the table understanding, obviously what the broad vision of the project is, but of course, what your unique additive is to this project. You have to know what you're bringing uniquely, because with collaborative books, you don't get to read what other people write before the book goes to print. So you don't get to compare your chapter to someone else's. You just have to have a true understanding of what the purpose and the goal of this book is, the overall outcome that the coordinator, I suppose, is looking to achieve. And you have to have in your own mind an understanding of what you want to accomplish as a co-author in this collaborative book project. And so for some people, it may just be to add another book to their list of books that they are author of. For others, it could be something that could be included in your speaker platform. For others, it could be an introduction to a new concept or program or project that you have coming up right around the same time that this book will be launched. And usually, obviously there's a theme or a general focus of a collaborative book, and the coordinator then will bring together various people who have something interesting and useful to share with regard to that topic. And usually there are some very strong voices and very strong individual personalities that are involved in collaborative books. Who else would step up to the plate and say, yes, I'm worthy to be included among this group of people? Sometimes you don't always know who the other co-authors are. So you got to know you're bringing your stuff to the table. But I love collaborative books for a number of reasons. Of course, those that I've stated already, but also for people who are either too busy or to write a full book, or who are new to book publishing. It's a great entry point to practice and understand what it feels like to go through the process of publishing and to write at least one chapter or several if you're offered the opportunity to write more than one chapter in a collaborative book. And then in particular, if it's self-published, perhaps you might also have an opportunity to know what it feels like to invest in part of a self-published book project and not have to invest in the full expense of the project. So there are some great benefits to collaborative books. I highly encourage people to participate in one or work with a book publishing services company that can help you pull one together. If you've never done it, I wouldn't suggest you be the coordinator. I'd almost suggest that you participate as a co-author first, because it takes a lot of time lining out, a lot of planning, and of course you do need to know you have an understanding of the publishing process as well as book marketing. But I think it's a great way to collaborate and to work with other people who might be considered by others, or maybe who themselves might consider themselves your competition, and to show those people who are looking to work with you or others in the industry that, hey, you know what, competitors or not, we are willing and able to work together on a successful project such as a collaborative book.
Yeah, I just have one caveat. One caveat: choose carefully. When you're choosing either the authors with whom you're going to work, if you're coordinating it amongst yourselves, or if you're choosing a company that's doing this as a service, as a publishing service, just choose carefully. Understand whether you're paying upfront, whether you're going to have to pay for your own books, the actual printing of books at the other end, whether there's going to be any marketing done by anyone other than you, how royalties will be split, if there is any kind of royalty split. Just be really clear about all of that, because I have seen some people who were super excited. They were frankly scared to take on the task of writing their first book by themselves. They were scared. They'll tell you.
Yeah,
so
I can understand that.
So instead they decided, let me be a part of this collaborative project. and some of them have come out beautifully. Anita does them through her company. She does it as in a very professional manner. But some people are just doing it because it looks like easy money.
Yeah.
It looks like quick money. They don't have to do the work. And a couple of my friends have had the experience. Unfortunately, they didn't talk to me before they went into their deal. They've had the experience of spending a lot of money upfront to be a part of a collaborative book, and then getting an inferior product with inferior marketing at the other end. So you just have to choose carefully.
You do.
It's just like any other service. You just choose carefully when you do that.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. And we may have to do another podcast topic just on collaborative books. I would love to do that. I think I've done maybe 5 of them, 5 or 6.
The expert. The expert.
Yeah. You should definitely.
And they're great. It's always a great experience. So I think unless you ladies have something else to add, I think we've covered this topic of the myth of competition, that yes, competition exists, but it's all about the way you approach it, whether you're an author, an entrepreneur, a career person. Make competition work for you and just make the most of it. Any parting words, ladies?
No, I mean, if clearly we're not competing with each other. We've managed to collaborate on a company, a book, a couple of courses, an online program. Somehow these 3 women, and 3 women of color, no less, have managed to work together productively and profitably for over 2 years now. So
we have
nothing
our eyes.
else left to us.
Right. We have our eyes. We haven't scratched out each other's eyes.
No.
I don't even think for real, I don't even think we think about that. We have, of course, everything hasn't been 100% ironed out smooth because we're 3 strong women who want to do what we want to do. But
as my husband calls us, 3 alpha females.
We are alpha females, honey. I'm telling
Proudly.
you. But we know how to keep that alpha in check. And just do what we need to do. I'm very proud of our relationship, our working relationship, our businesses, and the projects that we have. So, and I look at you guys as you guys. There you go, that California thing coming out of me that I guess I picked up from y'all.
We've influenced her, Candy.
I know. Y'all can say y'all right out of me. But I look at our sistership as something very special, and it keeps growing and getting better. And we keep touching each other. We keep touching other people who remark about how crazy and wonderful and awesome we are. Remember we went to that thing with Wendy Y, the Income Accelerator? They were like, we're going to keep y'all apart. I'm like, why? And we were apart. We weren't even sitting together, but we just influenced the whole thing. It was our show. So that's all.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode. We're going to wrap up with a quick shout out to an author. Candace, who do you have?
Well, I actually have several authors because my shout out is to a collaborative book called Building a Business, Building a Life.
That looks familiar.
Can you see the cover? It's a great cover. It's a woman walking on a tightrope, and it's a metaphor for the lives of, I would think, all women, but particularly women who take the plunge into entrepreneurship. And she is walking on that tightrope over a body of water full of sharks. So she better not fall. So it's called Building a Business, Building a Life, Incredible Stories of Women Entrepreneurs. And it has 6 authors, one of which is Anita Rochelle, who is actually Anita Henderson, if you didn't know. And then here's the cool thing about collaborative books. Anita actually managed this whole project, and I had the privilege of editing it. So I know the content well. I know it's really good. If you're a woman in business, it allows you to see how different women who you will find reflect different parts of yourself have overcome the obstacles required to have a life and a business at the same time. And at the very back, what you will see, I don't know if y'all can see it. See that long list on this page? Those are all contributors to this book. So even though she had 6 authors in this book who did whole chapters, Anita also had a whole long list of other women who didn't have a whole chapter to contribute, but wanted to add something that they had learned on their journey. And all of these people give you really specific tips that you can use to overcome the obstacles that we all face. If you're sitting there feeling like you're alone, if you feel like nobody has ever had the failures that you've had and nobody understands your journey and you don't have the right support around you, well, this book is the right support. It'll let you know that you're absolutely not alone. It'll give you some specific tips to move forward in your business and still actually have a life. Building a business, building a life.
Awesome.
Love it. I must say, I really love that book. It's pretty.
It's a great book. It's a great book.
You had just published that when I met you, Anita.
I think so. Yeah. So great book, great shout out, excellent podcast episode. We want to thank everybody for watching and listening once again to Write Books That Sell Now, the podcast that gives you real insight into the real world, honey, of being a successful self-published author. We want you to drop a comment or two about this episode. Follow us on Facebook because we're awesome. We have a very active, vibrant following on Facebook, and we want to see you there. And until the next episode, hey, we'll check you out on Facebook. Bye now.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Find out more about becoming an author and making the most of your book at writebooks.sellnow.com.